Yo, what's up, guys? Right now we're gonna look at the end of front-end development, an article I found on the interwebs, and it's coming from this guy called Josh. And I skimmed through it a little bit, and I think it's pretty interesting, and I think it's bringing a bunch of cool points that I think will relieve some of the pain that you've been experiencing in the past couple of days, because I know how this news with ChatGPT taking your jobs, like it's frustrating, right? Like it makes you think, like, what is gonna happen with the world? Will you have a job? Like it's like a massive disruptor, and it just makes you think, hey, is my job gonna exist tomorrow? Like, is it even worth spending all this time? And another thing that I want to say here before getting into this article is that the entire world is changing. Like, if you are not realizing this, money is changing, jobs are changing, things are moving real quick since like 2020. So let's see what this guy says. So over the past few months, I've spoken with lots of early career devs who are getting more and more anxious about AI. They've seen the increasingly impressive demos from tools like GPT-4, and they worry that by the time they're fluent in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, there won't be any jobs left for them, right? This sentiment is all over Twitter right now. Anyone who only has a front-end skill set should diversify their skill set immediately, because their job won't exist soon, right? I'm gonna stop here. I know he's disagreeing with this, but what I want to say here is that I believe, that you should become a full stack person, not a full stack developer. Okay, so my take on this entire thing with web dev and whatnot is that you should not stop at being a developer. Like, so many people make this mistake. I think, in my opinion, they stop at being a developer and they just roll with that for the rest of their life. Like, you cannot be one person for the rest of your life. Like, you cannot have just one job, just one skill set. So if you get into web dev right now, cool, that's fine. But then learn other skills like marketing, like sales, make friends with other people from other industries. Try to move on from just being a developer, because if you come from a non-tech job, right, and now you have this dream that you want to change your life dramatically somehow, you are probably currently stuck in your career, right? And the last thing that you want to have happen to you is to be stuck being a developer. Okay, you never want to be stuck with anything. So always learn new things. Okay, even if those things might be outside of your comfort zone, go ahead and learn them. It's going to make you a better person, smarter. You'll have more opportunities, and then you'll be able to cash in whenever you have to, or whenever you can to. Okay, anyway, I couldn't disagree more. So Josh is disagreeing with this. I don't think web developer jobs are going anywhere, and I'm getting pretty sick of the food being spread online. Okay, so in this blog post, I'm going to share my hypothesis for what will happen. Things are going to change, but not in the scary way people are saying. Okay, so he's also teaching some programming, right? So this is his disclosure, and he starts with this, right? The CSS language was first released in 1996 in Internet Explorer 3. Within 2 years, the first no-code website builder Homestead had launched. So weeks, pretty much. Homestead allowed people to build custom web pages without writing a single line of code. Like, look at this beauty. Like, I think most junior devs have a portfolio that looks like this. Let's see if... it's too light. You see, like, this is from, what, 1996? And this one has Flexbox, so it has that vibe still. Sorry, I shouldn't make fun of this guy. But yeah, anyway. Pretty much since the beginning, there has been a concern that web developers would be made redundant by some new technology. In the 2000s, it was WordPress. In the 2010s, it was Webflow. In the early 2020s, it was no-code tools. And in a way, web devs have been made obsolete, These days, if a local bakery or a dentist or an artist needs a website, they are probably not hiring a developer and paying them tens of thousands of dollars to build something from scratch. They'll hop onto a Squarespace, find a template they like, and spend $20 a month. And this is true. Like, right now I have my website is built with ClickFunnels, so it's made for making money, right? It's not made to like show you my React skills or like animation skills. And why would I pay someone $20,000? Like, I mean, I've made a video about this like 2 weeks ago where I was showing like cool websites from awards.com. Like, I don't need a website like that. So there are people, dentists, that pay $50 a month, $100 a month to have a website with some scheduling software. So that's why I'm saying, like, I don't think it's a great idea to become a freelance web designer to sell websites, okay? But we can talk about that in another video, okay? Anyway, last week OpenAI did a showcase of GPT-4. This featured a pretty impressive demo. GPT-4 can take a hand-drawn sketch of a website and turn it into a fully functional website. This looks like this, and this is the result. I mean, it's a cool demo, right? You draw something and then boom, it makes it with HTML and CSS. It might make you think, you know, like panic a bit, but it's not a big deal, right? Let's be clear, we haven't needed web devs to build these sort of things in decades. There is an enormous difference between this HTML document and the sorts of code front-end developers write today. So here what I want to add is the fact that websites and web applications are using the same technologies, right? HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. These are the base technologies. But the type of work you will do working for a pharmaceutical company like I did was absolutely insane. So you had to know so many things, so many things about the data, how to process everything, how to manage your state, how to create your components in the best way possible, and so on and so forth. There is no similarity to this. Yeah, I'm using the same tags and the same browser, but the output is totally different, right? So anyway, most of the demos I've seen so far are pretty limited in scope, a simple HTML page, yeah. But these are the early days. If these things continue to accelerate at this same rate, it will be able to build entire applications in a couple of years, right? I'm far from an expert when it comes to LLMs like GPT-4, large language models, but I do understand how they work at a high level. Fundamentally, LLMs are a super powerful text predictor. Super powerful text predictors. Given a prompt, they use machine learning to try and come up with the most likely set of characters that follow the prompt. Companies like OpenAI spend a ton of time and energy tweaking the models to improve the output. An army of human labelers grade the model's output, and the model learns and evolves. My first job was actually for a computer vision company. So they were making software that was detecting how well or how hungry the fish are in a tank, and then based on their movement and their patterns, we were figuring out if we have to feed them, stop feeding them, because we wanted to optimize how fast they grow. You know, it was pretty interesting. If you've experimented with tools like ChatGPT or Bing's AI-powered search, you've probably noticed that the response rate are maybe like 80% correct. Yeah, like you saw in the video from yesterday. But they are said with absolute and unshakable confidence. Exactly like my girlfriend. LLMs aren't able to validate their assumptions or test their hypotheses. They can't confirm whether what they're saying is true or not. They're playing a probability game and estimating that this string of characters seems to be compatible with a string of characters from the prompt. Pretty cool. Sometimes parts of that response are nonsensical. The OpenAI team refers to this as hallucinations. As the technology improves, we can expect some of the rough edges to be sanded down, but fundamentally there will always be some level of inaccuracy. Blah blah blah. One more point, there is an enormous difference between generating a 50-line HTML document and spitting out a production-ready web application. A small JavaScript application like this blog has 65,000 lines of code across 900 files. That's pretty crazy. That doesn't include the written content, only the JavaScript and TypeScript. That's pretty crazy. Even with, actually it looks pretty good. I like how this blog looks like, and I think it has some nice interaction and features. I was playing around with it. Even with 95% accuracy rate, this would be incredibly difficult to debug. It would be like a developer spending months building a huge project without ever actually trying to run any of the code until it was 100% finished. This is the stuff of nightmares. Yeah, that's true. Again, if you look back at the video I've made yesterday, you would see how I was building the app step by step, right? I knew what I wanted to get out of it, and I was like, okay, do this, now change this, now I want to add this, show me the changes, you know? So I still had to do it myself, and the context was quite small, right? And I was thinking to make another video, maybe tomorrow in a couple of days, where I make the app that my students are using to learn, like the big one, using AI, but I was like, how do I even start? I think it's gonna take, instead of like 1 week to finish that app for myself, because I have some experience building stuff, I think it's gonna help me make it in 3-4 days, but still it's not gonna be as quick as people imagine it to be, you know? AI isn't magic. It's only as good as its training data. Code snippets are all over the internet and are often generic. And by contrast, every code base is unique. There are very few large open source code bases. How is the AI supposed to learn how to build a big real world project? You know, it's probably impossible. We are very quickly reaching the point where non-developers can sit down with a chatbot and crank out a small contained project. The sort of thing that folks currently use tools like Webflow to build. And that's awesome. Correct. And now I think he wants to say, like, I cannot picture like Bill Gates, you know, firing the entire Microsoft squad, and he starts talking to ChatGPT to make Windows 12, you know what I mean? Like, do this and do that and copy this, or like whatever the hell is happening out there. You might not know it from this article, but I'm actually pretty optimistic about AI. I think the most likely scenario is that tools like GPT-4 become integrated into developer tooling and used to amplify what a skilled developer can do. Carpenters weren't replaced by power tools, accountants weren't replaced by spreadsheets, photographers weren't replaced by digital cameras and smartphones, and I don't think that developers will be replaced by LLMs. Yeah, that's a good point. Like, I mean, especially this one with the photographers, like so many guys, you know, have an iPhone 13, right? And they still have shitty pictures and cannot get a girl from Tinder. And for example, my girlfriend is a good photographer, and she takes pictures of those guys with her camera because she knows the angles and knows all that stuff. And now suddenly they are getting laid, you know, on Tinder. So that's a good point. I didn't even think about this. I did wonder if maybe the total number of developer jobs will go down. After all, if each developer is significantly more effective, won't we need less of them? And he's gonna say, not necessarily, blah, blah, blah. And now let me give you my point. I think as a company, especially like these big companies, we are not talking about startups, we are talking about corporations like, let's say, I don't know, T-Mobile, right? T-Mobile, maybe not T-Mobile, let's take Meta, right? These guys from Meta, they always try different products. They are testing different things, okay? Even though you might not see them, maybe a new feature, etc., etc. And they want to test a bunch of features, but in order to test those features, you need to make them, you need developers, and it takes time and money, right? But now, what if you can employ the same amount of developers and get this twice the amount of tests, right? And because of that, they will hire even more developers, which can test even more, right? So think about software development and building these apps like a work in progress. It's like a painting. A painting is never done. You just have to decide to stop. But if something makes you money, if an application makes you money as a company, you keep investing into it. I don't know any big company that has a product like set and forget. Every single company keeps improving, otherwise it's going to be eaten by the competition, right? I think that's something that people don't understand, and it's kind of hard to wrap your head around, this concept when you are not in tech, or you're not in, yeah, probably in tech, when you don't understand how businesses work. Because I'll tell you from my example, from my personal experience, I have my coaching program, right? Obviously, it's not a tech company, but I have to do something for my program every week, every day, besides like the maintenance stuff, like code reviews, feedback, coaching calls, directing my students on what they have to do, etc., etc. I'm changing something in my roadmap based on their feedback, based on how I see they are doing. I change some video, I update this, I update that, I add a new thing, I make something run smoother. So every product, apart from Coca-Cola, I guess, keeps changing a little bit, like 1% every week. And it's the same in software. Like if you don't grow, you will die, Anyway, what would happen if developers suddenly became 2 times more productive? More bugs would be fixed, more features would be shipped, more profit would be made. Yeah, exactly what I said. There's no shortage of stuff to build, and so it's not like we'd run out of work for the devs to do. I actually think that this could increase the total number of developer jobs. Today, there are so many companies that don't hire software developers at all. I used to work for a company called Conrad Group, an agency that builds web applications for other companies, many of them household names. Because the cost of development is so high, it makes more sense for them to contract out their development needs rather than hire developers in-house. And here I want to say something, right? Like everyone can make a website with WordPress. Correct. Or everyone can make a website with Webflow. Correct. But there are still people who are making Webflow their business. They're making websites for other people. Let's say, I'm just talking about this Webflow stuff. So not only the main developer job is going to change and it's going to be better for you if you are good at it, but then other opportunities will develop because of ChatGPT, right? Or AI, or whatever else is going to come, Let's see, those Fortune 500 companies are doing the math based on the current cost of software development. Let's make up some numbers. Suppose they need 4 developers at $150K each for $600K a year. It makes more sense for them to pay an agency $500K to manage this for them. But if LLMs really do amplify developer productivity, they might be able to hire 2 devs at $150K each to do the same amount of work. All of a sudden, the math is much more attractive, right? So it basically opens up opportunities for even more work for devs. Yeah, I'm not an economist, and this is all wild speculation. I'm not saying that I know it will shake out this way for a fact. What I'm saying is that it's not a foregone conclusion that this will be bad for us. Nobody knows how this will shake out, and I'm getting a bit tired of people acting like this, like the worst case scenario is a fait accompli. Okay, using LLMs to help you learn. I've heard from a few folks who have said that ChatGPT has been really helpful when it comes to learning technical skills. If you are confused by something in a tutorial, you can ask the AI to explain it to you. This is really interesting use case for me. Essentially, ChatGPT is like a pair programmer, someone who can help you make sense of things you don't understand. You can ask it specific questions and get specific answers. But I do think you need to be careful. There's a right way and a wrong way to use tools like this to help you learn. Okay, so I'm gonna say something here. I'm gonna give away the way I want to implement ChatGPT in my program, because I was thinking about it for the past few days and I think this is going to be the way. So you cannot use, or you can, but you shouldn't use ChatGPT to learn. In fact, what you want to do is you want to learn the skills. You really have to learn the skills, okay? You learn the skills and you build stuff, okay? Once you finish building stuff, what you do is you ask for feedback from a senior developer. This is the trick, okay? You ask for feedback, you get your code reviewed, you are being explained why your code is good or bad, your code is getting roasted pretty much. And then what you do is you go, once you have like a final form of your code, you go to ChatGPT and you say, build me an app that does this. And you start to list out the features. And then you see how it does it. And then you ask ChatGPT to change that to match whatever you were expecting. So in this way, you learn how to use ChatGPT, and you also don't rely on ChatGPT to learn some stuff, because the wrong way is to treat it like a GPS, okay? When I have to drive somewhere, I pop the address into my GPS and follow its instructions indiscriminately. I do generally wind up where I need to go, but it requires zero mental effort on my part. Zero mental effort. This is where you need to stop and think. Zero mental effort. As a result, my sense of direction has totally atrophied. I can't go anywhere now without a synthesized voice telling me what to do. I don't know about you, but I'm exactly like this guy. Like, I use GPS for so long that it takes me months and months of doing the same route till I learn the route to get where I need to get. It's crazy, because if you don't use it, you lose it, right? It's the same with your brain. If you got into this whole thing to actually learn. That's the point of getting into web dev, right? To use your brain. So why not use it to learn? Why use it with ChatGPT? Because ChatGPT is going to be smarter than you. You want to be smarter than ChatGPT, not the other way around, right? Right. Because if ChatGPT is smarter than you, then you're fucked. Instead of treating it like a GPS, I suggest treating it like you are a member of a jury and the LLM is the defendant taking the stand. You listen to what they have to say, but you won't accept it as a fact. You'll be skeptical and think critically about every word. Instead of blindly copy-pasting the code that ChatGPT generates, go through it line by line and make sure you understand. I said this before. Ask it for clarification and double check things that seem suspicious with an authoritative source. Example, the official documentation. Documentation is the thing that juniors are staying away from. They are going to Udemy. Don't do that. Go to the docs. Keep in mind that LLMs are 100% confident, but not 100% accurate. If you follow this strategy, I think LLMs can offer a lot of value. Yeah, we have no fucking clue what's going to happen in the next few years, okay? The only thing that we can control is getting better at the thing that we are doing, okay? When you feel scared that you lose your opportunities, your chances, you just have to think, how can I do more? How can I be better? How can I work more? How can I be smarter? How can I set myself apart? Because, you know, like, you guys look around and you see how bad things are, like people are not getting hired and all this stuff, right? You see how difficult it is to get hired as a dev, and now you have these layoffs. I'm not going to talk about the layoffs right now, but especially with, you compare yourself with a bunch of juniors, right? You need to understand that the majority of juniors, they're a bunch of losers. But nobody says that because they're too nice, right? I know a guy who's been applying for like 3 years and only got one interview. And I looked at his portfolio and he had a Pokemon app, right? So he had that app, and obviously probably he was talking to his friends, to other people in Discord, saying how difficult things are. But they're just spreading misinformation. Most people are not that good, right? And then whenever you compare yourself and you're like, fuck, I hope I'm going to get the job and whatnot, you think the other person is the same as you, right? The other 5 people, they are the same as you. Probably they are worse than you. Or maybe they're the same as you. That's why you're not getting anything. So you need to get better. How do you get better? Mentorship, roadmap, code reviews. Yeah, I'm selling this shit, but that's how you get ahead. Like, you can watch YouTube all day and you can watch Udemy courses all day and you can do all this stuff all day, but the best way to learn is do stuff, get feedback, learn why something was good or bad, try again, fail, success, feedback, learn, and you repeat this thing over and over and over your entire life. If you don't get feedback, you don't know what you're doing. And feedback, for example, if you close your eyes and you start walking on the street and the car hits you, That's feedback. Probably you won't be able to recover from that, but that's still feedback. But you need feedback, some sort of feedback that tells you, hey, I'm doing something right, I'm doing something wrong. At least you know how to navigate the road. Otherwise, you'll be confused. You don't know exactly if you should focus on getting a better resume. You don't know if you should get better at interviewing. You don't know if you should get better at JavaScript. You don't know if you should get better at React. You don't know. You don't know. So you have so many things that you could focus on. And you're like, okay, which thing should I do first? You might think you are bad at this thing, but you're actually bad at this thing, and this fucks up this and this and this. But the symptom is the thing here. But the real problem is somewhere here. And you cannot fix that because you're a junior and you don't know how these things work. Anyway, if you want help with this stuff, I think there are a few spaces open on my calendar. You can check them out. Apply for a free consultation call with me. I'm going to show you how to get really good, really fast. Check out the testimonials from my website. Watch all the videos and see if this is going to be something that you want to do. Okay? See ya.